Yes, guys, how's everyone? There's a lot going round about the lack or kind of perceived lack of threat in our team. Now, I think this works both ways. Is there a lack of creation? I think yes. Is that a structural issue? I think slightly. Now, this is kind of the mix for me. The structure of the team looks really good. We don't look wide open. The gaps are good. The spaces are good. The mindset has been very decent, apart from the Arsenal game, really. The structure works. We've shown that because we get into areas where we can exploit and we can create. Now, that's what I'm going to show. However, the downside so far of the structure we're seeing is when we get into the final third, one, there's a lack of quality with the execution of the players. But at times as well, there is a lack of options. There's a lack of clarity and instinct. This is where the hard work now needs to go into making consistent movement, consistent combinations, consistent runs. So that movement, the idea when you attack becomes an instinct, right? Because it isn't at the moment. It's quite hesitant, guessworky kind of thing. So we'll get into that right now and we'll figure out with our attack, how can we best utilize what we've got? Because that's what you've got to do. You know, I always think about it. As an analyst, you're never looking at basically looking at what can make us better. With what we've got, how can we be more productive? How can we be better at certain things? So I'm going to focus on the attack, and a lot of the season I'm going to focus on the attack because I'm very, very happy with the way we look, our shape, our mentality, our structure behind that. Let's get into it. And the first thing I'm going to talk about, and a lot of this is going to be about DCL and Okafor and Bogle. They're the three main ones I'm looking at structurally, because I believe they're the three that can cause opposition issues. Some stacking there as well. The first thing I want to think about is the quality after winning the ball back. It was a big annoyance of mine. This comes down to player quality. This comes down to instinct on the ball. This just comes down to mindset, and it's quite simple. Don't make mistakes. Repetition. We won the ball back here, and this is a theme as well. As I said, we win the ball back a lot in the advantageous areas. We're good at doing that. We crowd areas out really well, and we get into counter positions really well. Something I really like, but then it just kind of dies off. But Longstaff wins the ball, as you can see here, and we're attacking the way the arrow's pointing. And theoretically, in this league, if you win the ball back in this position, and they've committed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they've only got 3 guys out of picture. You know, if one good pass here from Longstaff into this area, you've got potentially 1, 2, 3, 3v3, 3 versus 4 if Stack joins the attack. My point being there's space to attack. If just one, all it is a little touch into this space, but it's the quality of the pass just in these little areas that just let us down a lot, and we need to up that. This is not tactical, this is basic stuff, this is player quality, this is on the players, this part of it, this section is what the players within the game, they need to get this right. It's that simple. They need to get this bit right. You know, the pass there, look at all that space. It's just behind Aronson. If that's in front of him, look, maybe we won't do out because this is the issue, right? But it's repetition. It's getting in the right areas. You know, DCL now is attacking. Okafor, as you can see at the bottom, just above my head, is starting to attack. There's DCL. Passes behind Aronson. And then they win it back. And you can see, look, Okafor's started making moves. DCL's in good area. They've only got 3. They're quite narrow. One theme, just keep an eye out throughout this, was how good DCL was at attracting centre-backs. Now, because he did that, and what Fulham did, actually, the full-backs, whether it would be Tete on this side or Sessegnon on the left, they were always very close to our wingers, which led to opportunity, which we didn't exploit with our quality and structure at times. I'll show what I mean by that. Crossing. Something I think we need to do more. Something I think is on. I think we have good crosses of the ball. We have DCL. And it's confusing me now because DCL's position a lot of the times is very central. He occupies the centre backs very well, which, as you can see, creates so much space between him. I didn't think we exploited these spaces closer to DCL. I think when he when the defenders went towards DCL, I don't think we exploited the spaces that these two defenders would be in. And as I said, the fullbacks were always very close to the wingers. So theoretically, if your instinct is right, you should find attacking areas quite simply. The DCL here, and this is committing more in the box. If we're playing a crossing game, if DCL is a central threat and he's staying in the box, that's fine. But he can't be the only option in there. And this is how basics that, and this comes down to repetition at training. This comes down to instinct, getting used to what we are, who DCL is, what we expect of him, but also as a team with Okafor as well, committing ourselves to the box. If we're playing a structure in certain attacks where we want to get the ball into the box, commit more into it. Otherwise, it's very difficult to score. As I'll show here. Bogle's still driving, by the way. Look how deep. He's come from basically the halfway line. Driving now near the edge of the box. DCL is now making that run. I put Okafor must commit earlier. Tete is isolated. And what I mean by that is it's a one-on-one at the back post, realistically. Okafor has the pace on him. He has the running on him. He has the instinct. You see what I'm saying? He's behind him. He knows where that ball's going to go. He's got to commit to that back post run. Bogle's already looking up. Again, if this is what we are doing, we need to do it better with more commitment. Bogle crosses the ball in. And as you can see, Okafor's just a little bit too behind Tete. If that ball misses DCL, he has to be a little higher. He has to be on the shoulder of Tete. Tete, as a defender there, you're doing that. You've got to know where the ball is. You've got to know where your centre-back is. You've got to also know where that attacking winger is. I'm even looking at Stack. Could he potentially bust a gut just a little bit, a few more %? Look, I know you need people in the box. I know that. I know you need people defending the box as well at the edge of it. I understand that. But from a structure perspective, if we're looking for crosses, I feel like we have to commit more, if that makes sense. That's the risk. I get it. I do. It's finding that balance. At a minimum, Okafor has to. And again, first time in the team, learning, understanding, but it's got to be done still. This is the point of this. This is analysis. This is looking, going, look, this is where you should just be behind DCL there. Get close to him. If Oak goes past him, then you're in. He's just a little bit too... He's in line with Bogle here, And there we go. As you can see, they win it back. Claims handball, but at the end of the day, the position wasn't right, in my opinion. We didn't get enough in the box. But that was a good chance. This is a good area. This is a good attacking situation. Build up as well. Committing. Again, instincts, that word. This needs to become instinctive. Let's look at deeper build up. Ball goes out to Bogle. This is where you're looking for that little bit of sharpness between players, that little bit of combination play, that little bit of thinking, that instinct. When Bielsa team attacked and 1-2 touch, they knew where they're going, they knew where the spaces were, they knew where the areas were. That's what we have to build in this team if you want to stay in this league, I think. Aronson's here, look. And this is the problem. So Bogle has the ball. He plays the ball into Aronson, which is 2 yards in front of him on a straight line. He's not committing any more defenders by doing that. He's not playing into space. When it's not allowing us to exploit space. It's not doing anything, is my point. Playing into compact zones where they have an overload. Look, it's a 3v2. They've got 3, we've got 2. That pass, that 2-yard pass to Aronson isn't doing anything. My issue is that. So what we should do, in my opinion, Aronson should now... This is where instinct comes into it. This is where, if Bogle gets the ball in this position, what do we do? Right, Aronson, you're a busy guy. You'll make the runs. You'll find the spaces. He's got to delve into this area and leave a passing lane for Ampadu in midfield, as I've explained. If Aronson makes that run, boom, Ampadu goes towards the ball. You can see now what I'm saying. If Ampadu can get that in there, he can take a touch. Aronson's made that run into the space. That's one option. Another option is DCL. The space in there to play to the striker, as you can see, is just off screen. This is where these instincts are coming into it. And let me clarify. We do this at times. I want it more because this is where it's important now. We consistently do it. And I'm going to keep saying the same 3 words because I think they're important in this moment. I think midfield has got that instinct. How many times I've said that word? But it's true, right? You watch midfield, they know where the space is. They know kind of where the combinations are. Again, defensively, they're very aware of the surroundings. They know how big the spaces are between them. Whose man's who. We've not got that in the final third yet. And this is where little moments like this matter. That's what I'm looking for there. Get out of these areas. What we did do was passed it 2 yards to Aronson, who's got 3 men pressing him, and we had to go back. From potentially an advantageous position. Now again, space between winger and striker, really important for me. This is something, me and Andre are going to speak a lot about this. In the pod coming up this week. We're going to have a good discussion about the role of Okafor, DCL, and how we... This is showing what we can do better. In that video, we're going to explain and hopefully show as well how we can turn that into more chances. So I have a theory and I have some ideas on Okafor. And how I believe personally, just me, we can get more out of him. Because I actually was really impressed by what I saw in certain instances in terms of where he goes and what he does with the ball. So this is a really important topic though. The space between the winger and the striker was too much for me. And again, this is playing off the fact that there was 2 or 3 times where DCL and Okafor played close. And 2 of the times we won a corner, and 1 of the times is where that defender in the second half got across and slid him. Okafor was about to shoot one-on-one on the goal. That's the role for me, but that's another video with me and Andre. We'll talk about that. But this is the space. This is again. There's DCL. This is the space. Now I feel like, and again, this is analysis. So I'm not saying I'm analysing the game. They had no love out wides. Look, they had 4, we had 3. If DCL is in the box here, this shows to me that we want to get the ball into the box for him centrally. But again, this is where the adaptation comes into it, where if you want to do that, that's so hard to do when they've got a 4-3 in wide areas. And one thing Fulham were very good at was not allowing us to have overloads wide. They were very good at that. And then in 1v1 situations, they were very good too. So if the first idea is to play the ball into the box, find a cross for DCL, fine. But in this situation, where they've got more than you, it's so hard. Now, what screams out here is, again, the space between the winger and the striker. Now, that's fine. Naturally, a wide winger will have a bit of space to striker. But in this situation here, it's not really a way out of it unless it's right back. This is the space that needs to be exploited for me. This is where DCL, and I'm sure this will happen at training. Now he's got time and he's fit. We can work on tactical adjustments. If the cross isn't on, if it looks like it's not going to be on, this is where DCL's time now is to find this area, really exploit this space. Again, knowing how tight Fulham played to our wingers and how tight the centre-back played to DCL, finding these areas. Now you're in a more advanced role and you're at the edge of the box. It just allows an outlet just to have the striker in these areas here. As you'll see, can we find that space? Look where DCL is. We're not in a position here, 4v3, at all, to cross it. Nowhere near. Because there's no one exploiting this area. They've got 3 men on our 3, and then an extra one, Harry Wilson, cutting off the line. It's going to be almost impossible from this position to get into this space against a very good team with Fulham. This is where DCL needs to help for me, in my opinion. This is where we need to exploit this area. And this is where the managers know. They know how to do that. They'll go, okay, we could do this. I'm just pointing out the potential areas in which we can affect games and affect teams. Probably have to win the ball back again. Win the ball back here with Jayden Bogle. Gives it into Ampadu. Now, I'm not nitpicking. I'm not saying it's a bad option. My question is, can we find DCL early? Look, again, win the ball back. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 players in relatively decent space. He plays the ball into Aronson. My problem here, it's a bad pass. It's not to him. It's in front of him. And he has a guy on his blind side, which is, I believe, that's Iwobi, on his blind side, pressing him. Even if you shout man on, the defender is always favourite to win that. He's on his blind side. In this situation here, this is where we need to be smart. This is where we need to play into the right areas. I'm looking at this and I'm going, right. If Ampadu got that ball earlier on here, Fulham's midfield, again, like I said, compact to our wingers, very compact to our wingers. So if they're deeper, that leaves spaces in wide areas and in front for DCL. That's where we've got to find him. Look where DCL is now. This is where he's good. What we try to do, we went to Aronson early, who was being pressed on his blind side by Iwobi, who has now won it. Now you're in a bit of trouble. We should have gone long first, played into the right area, which was here, bypassed their entire midfield, and then, when it's into DCL, this is where he attacks, he attacks, he attacks, he attacks. Go long early, and then commit. As opposed to getting it to Aronson under pressure when he's being pressed. Give it to DCL, and then it's his job to hold that up. And then we run into the space. Because remember, the fullbacks are so tight to the wingers. And if it's instinctive, we'll attack that space before they do. Right? That's what we need to do. That's, for me, some little things we need to work on as an attack. Because, yeah, I feel like it's very... What's the word? It's not necessarily, like I said, instinctive. It's not that, but it's not structured enough. There needs to be a clear plan. And now we've got DCL fit. If we're working with him and Okafor, this is where we need to work on the plan. Now they're all here and available. I'm not saying we're not working on it, by the way. I'm just giving my synopsis. That's all. Quality when winning the ball back, playing into space. Better. This is what I liked. Okafor wins the ball back. Can I go forward? Where's the space? Stack goes, yep, where's the space? Stack drives into the space. Okafor passes to Stack in the space. Good. Okafor continues his run. This is why I like him. Annoyingly, instead of committing forward, Stack stops and goes backwards. I don't hate this. I'm not saying this is the wrong decision, but I still believe if we can get it into this area, we can win a throw-in, we can win a corner higher up. Playing into the territory, getting into their final third, asking them questions. But spaces again, people. Here it is. This is probably the best example. Goodmanson gets it wide. Good area. Okafor makes the run in behind. It's a good run. Goodmanson can't make the pass. That's been cut off by Tete. But it takes the centre-back, who's very tight, away, which creates this space here again. DCL sticks centrally. This is where he's got to play closer to the winger. There's two options he can do. He can spin in behind, or he can come into this space here. They're the two options for me. And basically the final set is, again, trusting DCL. What I will say, I think the service into DCL was poor. The balls that were long. They were too far for him. The balls actually into him were quite difficult ones to control. I think he made some good runs. But it's going to take time to adjust. Obviously, we know this. But again, this is why I like DCL. Occupying them centre-backs. Sessegnon on the winger, as I said. Now, what that allows is these spaces here in these channels. Bogle again, running with it. Look, Sessegnon close to the winger. Look at the channel. DCL is literally running in. Bogle drives again. It's still on. And this is a high line, by the way. So there is space in behind to exploit. This isn't the time to go to feet, simply because quite deep, you've not got many players around the ball. So if DCL gets it to feet, who's the option? This is in behind. And again, this comes down to repetition at training to make it instinctive what to do in these areas. Instead, we're going to his feet again. But when he gets it, where's the options? This is my point. It's such a high line in this area. There's so much space in that channel to exploit. So much. So much. You gain territory. You gain areas. Instead, we play at feet. We try and be intricate. They're defenders in front of our players. You know, we lose the ball. Very quick. Okafor gets it out wide. 2 players in the box. Again, if we're playing this way, we need more players in the box. Same again. Early cross from Bogle. Just DCL in the box. If we're doing that, we need more. DCL ain't doing anything there. Okafor needs to be in the box. Stack needs to be closer. Aronson's doing a good thing. He's dragging out Bassi to allow DCL a 1v1 in the box. This is where Okafor needs to commit. If we're doing that, we need to commit more bodies. And that's it, people. Hope you enjoyed that. I know it's very technical and it's not for everyone, but I like to do it. Enjoy it. I try to keep it as basic. I don't try to go into too much detail. I am going to do a video on my members. I've had it for a while, but I've not plugged it because I've not done anything on there. I'm going to start doing that now. I'm going to do some individual player analysis and many other things on there. I'm going to start with a Jadon Bogle video, which will come out in the next 2 or 3 days, where I'm going to just, every time Bogle entered the final third, I'm going to talk about what he did, how he can be effective, and all that kind of good things. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully I wasn't too kind of technical with it. I'm just trying to show what we can do as a team. You know, how can we be better? So I'm not one of these guys who goes, we've got that, we're finished. As an analyst, you have to look at the situation and go, but how can they improve? How can we do more with them? That's your job, you know? And like I said, me and Andre are going to talk about Okafor and DCL. There's a few good examples where I think when they play close together, I think that'll cause a lot of problems. But we'll get into that. See you guys in a bit. Thank you for all the support as usual. Bye-bye.